Hey, this is Professor Triplet, and let's go through some of these blocks for this week. So I'm going to do a few different blocks, and I'm not going to necessarily use techniques that I would tell you that you have to use. At this point in the class, you've seen a bunch of different techniques. You can employ any of those techniques that you want, but I'm just going to maybe go over some stuff that maybe you haven't thought of. And just maybe approach stuff in different ways. So the stuff that I'm doing in this tutorial, it's not going to be very slow. I'm just going to kind of go through it at a normal pace without explaining every little step. But it's just, I just wanted to kind of like introduce maybe some odd techniques that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And they all are applicable at different times and places. So, all right, so first of all, we obviously have to get our sizes down. So for this block, we know that it's going to be 14 because our normal unit block is 7, so this is double the height. And then in our width, that's going to actually be 7. And then our depth is going to be 3.5. So that's our dimensions. Make sure you get those right, because if you don't get those right, then the rest are going to be messed up. Now, I've already sized these, so I don't have to go through this again because I don't want to slow you down. You've seen how to do that. And there's no reason for me to show that all over again. So let's just go ahead and move this pivot down to this corner. I'm just snapping it. And I'm going to go ahead and snap it on the grid now. So there we go. And now you can see if I go ahead and freeze my transformations here, that's all zeroed out. I'll move this over. And you can see it's the right size for the reference. I'll zero that out again. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and first of all, I'm going to take this object and I'm just going to put a split in the middle. So go to the front view. I can hold Control to get my edge ring on my multi-cut tool coming out, and then all I have to do is hold Shift and it starts snapping to increments, and I'm just going to eyeball it. So I believe that's the center, so I know it's snapped right to the center. And then I'm actually going to come out and make a cylinder. Now I have to decide how many sides I want my cylinder to have when I cut this arch here. And 20 is too many, but 8 is too little to make it look good. So I'm going to go ahead and just go with 16. So it's kind of an in-between. And so if we go into perspective view, I can go ahead and I'm going to rotate this, holding J, of course, so I can snap it to increments. That way I don't have to do it up here. And then I'm just going to make the height the 3.5, so it'll basically, actually I'll make it even bigger. I'll make it 4 so I can see it. And this one is just a guide, so I'm not going to use this in my modeling. Now I will show some like Boolean stuff later, and I'll show you how to clean up Booleans when we do the whole cut. For the one, there's a piece that we do a whole cut. But for this one, I'm just going to show you how to like manually cut this thing to pieces. And so now, as far as radius goes, this is interesting because for the unit blocks, everything is built on specific units. So if I make the radius 3.5, it actually is the right radius size. And now you'll find out why I put this cut in the middle, and that's so I can actually snap this onto that cut. So I'm just going to hold V on my keyboard and snap it up here. So I just basically snapped it to that vert that's right there. And so now I have the building block of a guide, and I'm actually going to delete these faces up here. So let me go to just faces and delete those, because we don't need to make it twice, we only need to make it once. In fact, let's just make a quarter of it, or even just the one face. So let's just delete everything except for this face right here. And now I'm going to go ahead and make a cut. Now I'm not going to measure this or snap anything. I'm just going to basically look at what I'm doing. This is entertainment modeling. I'm not worried about whether or not this is going to be manufactured per se. So I'm just kind of cutting, and what I'm doing is trying to look at where the intersection of these two pieces comes, and I'm trying to drop a vert there. So you can see every time this thing intersects, I'll just try to drop a vert there. I just hit enter, and we're left with this n-gon over in the middle. We can't see it. Let's look at it this way. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get rid of that. And now we can go ahead and we can cut out from the middle. So basically like a concentric cut. So the way we would do that is, let's go ahead and go back to our shaded mode. I can actually hide this thing now. I don't really need that. And what I can do here is just take my cut tool, and it helps if I have something selected, my cut tool, and I just click on there, and I'm going to hold shift, and you'll see a black dot shows up here, and that's the middle. And then I just hit enter, and then I'm going to do the same thing here, but this time I'm going to go to this corner and here and hold shift and hit enter. Okay, so that's it. That's how I basically made this piece. Well, almost. We're almost there. So let's go ahead and we'll go to object mode, and we still have our pivot in the right spot. We just need to mirror this and then do an extrude. So let's go ahead and do a mirror. You could use your button, and as you can see right here, I did the mirror, but my merge borders and my threshold's really high. So if I turn my threshold down to like 0.01, it should be right. There we go. That's good. And then I have my axis position based on bounding box. You could do that, or object should work, but bounding box works for this one because the bounding box will go to the top of this thing. So let's just hit W to get rid of that, and we'll go to faces, select all the faces. We'll extrude. Now as I start extruding, you'll see once I get to right here by the center, where are we at? Well, -3.472. Let's change that to -3.5. There we go. So now we extruded the exact amount that we want, and we just double click on this and go to mesh display, and then we'll just reverse the normals if I can find it. There we go. Okay, so here's our basic shape. That's done. The only thing we really have left to do is lay out the UVs, and or I should say bevel it first and then lay out the UVs. So what we could do is come into here and start selecting edges. Just double click, and we're going to get all the outer edges basically. So all of these edges, and make sure you get all of them. You just got to double check your work here, and we can actually hide the reference now. So I've got that reference in a layer, and I can get rid of it by hiding it. Alright, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and bevel it. Okay, that's a little high, so we're just going to dial it back a little bit. And one's too little and two's too much, so I'm going to dial this in manually and just say 0.15 should be about right. And then I'll just give it one more segment, and that looks about right. Now we go to object mode, make sure we soften these edges so that it looks good, and let's turn the wireframe off and we'll take a look at it. There we go. That's that looks really nice. So we can delete the history now. Transformation's already frozen, no problem there, and it's in the negative space. Now you could orientate this differently if you want it to be kind of like standing in the normal arch position. So that would just be a matter of moving the pivot around, and from the other videos you can figure out how you could do that. But let's go ahead and lay out the UVs, and then we'll get on to the next piece. So actually, you know what, I forgot. I've been working in Maya so long, I keep forgetting that we have this new UV editing thing here, which is really great. So let me save really quick, just in case something goes haywire. And now I'm actually going to just do an automatic unwrap, see what it comes up with. And now that I've done that, let's go ahead and just hit the unfold, make sure it relaxes everything out properly, and then we'll go ahead and hit orient shells. It'll straighten them back out. Maybe. Sometimes it doesn't. That didn't do too good of a job in my opinion. But let's see. Orient to edge. You know, you could go ahead and try something like that. I haven't used that tool yet, but I'm sure you can. There's a way to pick an edge and then tell it to orient to a certain edge. But normally this thing works pretty good. Let me see if I can just turn it and get it to kind of reset. Maybe it's just the relax is kind of relaxed it funny. Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's okay. It doesn't have to be like 100% perfect for our UVs. It should be fine like this. So okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna use this back face as kind of my base. So this is that right there, and I'm gonna just move this off a little bit like so, and I'll go ahead and just go edges, and select through here like so, and then just come to our sew and then just do our stitch together. Of course it moved it that way, but that's fine. We just kind of keep doing it like that, and that should be good. So now I'm thinking about my material, so I should probably put that on there. Let's go to object, select just the object first and say assign existing material, and then we have our wood that we've already done. So let's do this, and then I'll just hold J and rotate it. We also have a rotate tool in here, by the way. It's just it used to be right up on top, and they kind of hid it now, so it's under transform, and there's this rotate tool, so you can just like rotate it 90 degrees. You can set the degrees if you want to use that. It's kind of a nice tool to use. I in the past it was up here and I used to use it all the time. Now that it's hidden, I tend to just snap my rotation myself instead of like digging for it. So I just want to show you one thing you can do here is that I can select everything and I can hit D on my keyboard, just move my pivot here, hit D again, and then I can scale from this point. So if I want to get this so it fits just inside of this this section here, I can do it like that. And let's look at this and see what we got. So hit 6 on the keyboard, and yeah, that looks pretty good, at least on the one part. The rest of it needs to be done, but the first part looks pretty good. So the rest of this is basically similar to what you've already seen. So you just want to stitch the rest of the pieces together and you know, kind of follow the steps that we've learned in the other tutorials. For this center part, this would be the part that I would kind of probably use something like this area here. Let's see how that looks. And we're missing 2 of the pieces, so let's close that down and hit close that. There we go. Stitch together. And so we're just basically, I think I got an area that I didn't really want, so I want to break this edge. Sometimes they when you use this automatic unwrap, it doesn't always do it right where you want. So sometimes you got to just break the edge and then come into here and go, just grab this face and move that out of there. Now be careful that when you see stuff like this, just go ahead and do a sew. Especially if they're really close, you can just hit sew and they'll merge together. And so you can see we're getting a nice look there. And then we would just do the same thing on this side. I'm assuming this one had the same problem as the other one. Yeah, we probably, like, we want to break those off, cut those off, stitch those together. I should say sew that. And so now that part's pretty much done. Let's see. Well, I take that back. So, well, yeah. I would probably want this one over here. So yeah, that one definitely has got to get moved off of there. I'm kind of trying to go through this fast because you guys have seen a lot of this stuff already, but this one piece I know is maybe a little bit different. So let me just do that, and then we'll just sew those. Okay, so now that inner piece is done, and then the rest of these are basically wash, rinse, and repeat of what you've already learned. So these would go over here, and the bottom piece would go somewhere like on here. Or I should say these side pieces would go somewhere like on here or on here. That's what those are for. So that would be how you finish that off. So I'm not going to show all that because I think it's self-explanatory from the other videos, but I'll jump into doing one of the next pieces next.